After years of military service, I was finally coming home for Christmas, but just days before, my dad sent a message saying I wasn't welcome anymore. I simply replied, "Understood." 5 days later, I woke up to over 10 missed calls from my family, and one was from their lawyer. "Hey Reddit, my name is Claire Weston. I'm 31, and after nearly a decade of military service overseas, this was supposed to be the first Christmas I'd spend back home in years. No drills. No deployments. No sand in my boots. Just peace. I'd imagined this homecoming for years. The hugs. The laughter. The smell of spice cider in Mom's kitchen. I thought maybe I'd even get the guest room ready for a real rest. My body was tired, but my soul, it was bone-deep exhausted. Home was supposed to be the cure. But the fantasy I held on to for years cracked the moment I got a message from my father. It was the night of December 17th. I'd just finished wrapping small gifts for my nephew and niece, who I'd never met, and was looking at old photos of my family smiling in front of the Christmas tree when my phone buzzed. The message was short. "Christmas is better without you. Better not come." That was it. No greeting. No context. Just a cold, sharp knife straight to the heart. I sat there staring at the screen, blinking. Maybe it was a joke? No sarcasm. No mistaking it. It was as blunt as it was deliberate. I hadn't seen my family in person since my final deployment 3 years ago. I'd missed birthdays, weddings, my sister's baby shower, and even Grandpa Harold's heart surgery. I chalked up the distance to my duty. I thought they understood. I thought they were proud. But now, just days before Christmas, I was being told. Not asked, told not to come. All I replied was, "Understood." And that was it. No one called. Not my mom. Not my siblings. Not even a cousin checking in. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I just sat in my apartment with the soft hum of the heater and the muffled sounds of carolers in the street outside, like the whole world was celebrating something I no longer had access to. Christmas came and went. I stayed indoors. Turned off notifications and ignored the cheerful lies on social media. But then came December 27th. I woke up late that morning. When I picked up my phone, there were 10 missed calls. 5 from my mom. 2 from my sister Lacey. 1 from my brother Nathan. 1 from my father. And 1 from a number I didn't recognize. There were voicemails too. The kind you just know are dripping with regret. And desperation. I listened. My mom's voice cracked. "Claire, please. I just found out what your father said to you. We didn't mean it like that. We need to talk. Something's happened." Lacey's message was colder. "You not showing up has complicated everything. You're not the only one hurting. Call us back." Nathan's message? Panicked. "Claire, you need to call Mom. It's about Grandpa. He passed on the 24th. The will. You were supposed to be here." That last sentence made my heart stop. And then came the one that truly changed everything. The voicemail from a law firm. "Miss Weston. This is Marion Holloway, estate attorney for the late Harold Weston. Please contact our office immediately regarding the execution of his final will and testament. Time sensitive. Thank you." They didn't even tell me he died. The only person in that family who actually cared about me, who used to send handwritten letters to my base, who once sent me a care package labeled "Not all family sucks," had died and they hadn't told me. I sat there. Shaking with rage. And grief. And something colder. Resolve. I remember the last time I saw Grandpa Harold. 2 years ago, right before I was transferred. We were sitting on his porch. And he said, point blank, "If anything happens to me, don't let them take what's yours. I've made sure you're not forgotten. Even if they pretend you don't exist." At the time, I thought it was just an old man talking. But now, it was a warning. I called the law office. The attorney confirmed what I was starting to suspect. I was named as the primary beneficiary of Grandpa Harold's estate. His house. His land. His savings. His small business shares. Everything. But there was a condition. I had to attend the formal will reading in person on January 3rd. If I failed to attend, the estate would be considered contested, and everything would default to the next of kin. My father. That explained the sudden tidal wave of missed calls and voicemails. They didn't want me back for me. They needed me to secure the inheritance. After tossing me aside like garbage days before Christmas, I asked the attorney one thing. Did Grandpa know what they were like before he passed? She paused, then said, yes. That's why he changed the will 6 months ago. And that's why he insisted the will reading be recorded. To prevent them from pressuring you. I knew then that I was going. But not as the prodigal daughter crawling back for forgiveness. No. I was going as the heir they never wanted. And the storm they never saw coming. I spent the next few days gathering documents, printing the last few emails from Grandpa, and getting my affairs in order. They wanted to play family politics. I was about to play war. They chose to cut me off. Now they were going to learn what it felt like to be left behind. This time, I wasn't coming home for Christmas. I was coming back for revenge. And I was bringing everything they tried to take from me and more. I arrived in town on the evening of January 2nd. Not a single family member knew I was coming. Not officially, anyway. The will reading was scheduled for 10 a.m. The next morning, at Holloway and Finch, the same law firm that left the message. It was an old brick building near downtown. I'd walked past it 100 times as a kid, but never thought I'd walk in as the center of a family firestorm. That night, I stayed at a local hotel just outside the city limits. Quiet, clean, and far away from memories. I didn't go near my childhood home. I didn't visit my mother. I didn't stop by the cemetery. Not yet. They wanted silence. I was giving them exactly what they asked for. At 9:59 a.m. on January 3rd, I walked through the front door of the law office dressed in a clean navy blue blazer, dark jeans, and boots that still bore dust from my final deployment. My hair was tied back. My eyes were tired but sharp. I looked like someone who had nothing left to lose. And that was exactly the truth. The receptionist gave a soft nod and opened the conference room door. And there they were. My father, red-eyed and stiff in his wrinkled blazer. My mother, hands clutched around her purse like a lifeline. My sister Lacey, who looked annoyed before she even registered that it was me. And my brother Nathan, visibly uncomfortable but silent as ever. When I stepped inside, the room fell dead silent. My father's expression turned to stone. His eyes didn't widen, his mouth didn't twitch, but I saw the way his hand gripped the armrest harder. Lacey was the first to speak. You actually came. I sat down directly across from them and set my folder on the table. Didn't want to disappoint Grandpa. I said coolly. He made it clear I had to be here in person. The attorney, Ms. Holloway, walked in right on time. She gave no space for niceties. No opening statements. No chance for my family to spin a narrative. She pressed play on a small voice recorder and began reading the will aloud. Harold Weston's voice echoed through the room, steady and clear. If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone. And if Claire is in the room, thank you, kid. I knew you'd come. My mom's head bowed slightly. Nathan looked down at the table. My father? His jaw clenched so hard I thought his molars might crack. I want to begin by saying this. Claire was the only one who visited me every year without being asked. She never demanded anything. She never came with expectations. She came with love. And for that, she gets everything. You could have heard a pin drop. The house. The land. The truck. The business shares. The savings account. All of it left to me. There was a pause. And then Harold's voice said one last thing. If anyone contests this, they lose their portion entirely. So think real hard before you do something stupid. Lacey exploded first. This is ridiculous. You barely even talked to him the past year. I turned to her. Calm as ice. And whose fault was that? You didn't even tell me he died. You had time to plan baby showers and engagement parties, but not one of you thought to text me about the man who raised me when Dad kicked me out. My father's eyes narrowed. You think just because you put on a uniform you're better than the rest of us? I leaned forward slightly. No. I think the fact that you told me not to come home for Christmas 5 days before Grandpa died says everything I need to know about who you really are. Mom opened her mouth, tears brimming. We didn't know what your father had said. He didn't tell us. I cut her off. You didn't ask. You never ask. You never call. I spent Christmas alone in a 1-bedroom apartment while you all drank wine and posted family photos online like I was already dead. Nathan finally spoke. Claire, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. We were going to talk to you after the holiday. Dad was just angry. I laughed. A bitter, humorless sound. Angry? He told me Christmas was better without me. And you all went along with it. You don't get to rewrite the timeline now that Grandpa left me something. Miss Holloway cleared her throat. Unless there are legal objections, the paperwork will be processed this week. Claire, we'll need your signature here. I signed without hesitation. When I stood, the room stayed seated. Like they couldn't believe the nightmare was real. The daughter they cast aside was now the legal owner of everything they wanted. I walked to the door, paused, and turned back one last time. You didn't want me home. You got your wish. But now, this isn't your home anymore. And I left. The cold air hit me. Like a rebirth. Sharp, clean, final. Over the next few days, things moved fast. I met with a business accountant. Turns out Grandpa's investments were stronger than anyone knew. I met the real estate attorney and signed off on the deed to the house. My house. The same one my parents were still living in. They had 30 days to vacate. My father called once. I didn't answer. My sister emailed, furious and sarcastic. Calling me selfish and cold. I forwarded the message to Ms. Holloway and blocked her. Nathan sent a long apology. I read it. I didn't reply. Mom showed up at the law office, once during a final signing appointment. She didn't say a word. Just stared at me from the sidewalk. I didn't flinch. I walked right past her. Actions have consequences. For years, I made excuses for their silence. Their favoritism. Their absence. I blamed myself for not being the daughter they wanted. But that chapter is over. Now, I have a home. Not because it was given freely. But because the one man who saw my worth made sure I had the last word. I returned home to rejection. But I left that office with something more powerful than forgiveness. Control. And I used it to burn every bridge they once forced me to cross. They shut the door on me at Christmas, so I locked them out for good.